Well, at least they couldn't listen.
So let's try that again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Oz by Drone show with sound.
Yes, hopefully.
It works much better with sound, and I'm Greg.
And I'm Phil.
No, hang on, that's not the Joe music, that's the grumpy music.
Oh, I'm Grumpy,
Yeah.
and this is Oh Joe.
Okay.
And I'm here because nobody else wanted the job.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Welcome, everyone. So, this is not our regular format. My regular producer, my beautiful wife, is not here today. I'm sitting directly in front of the console myself and mixing it myself. So, that's why it may be a little bit rusty today compared to what we normally do, but that's okay. Why are we here and why are we in this format? A couple of quick things. Yes, I'm using Wirecast today. It's not my own choice. We had some challenges last week and I've had a busy week and haven't had time to fix it. That was a politically correct statement.
Yes, a Charlie Foxtrot is the best way to describe last week's show.
Yeah. So things didn't work as well as expected. I'm talking to a few people. There's some new versions of OBS coming out. There's all sorts of things that I'm going to try and do. But I've just got so many other things on, and I'll stick with Wirecast for the moment and hopefully be weaned off it sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
The other thing today that was going to be happening, and a few of you will laugh, Coldflake was going to be here this morning, but it's already after midnight for him. And if I call him again, let me just see. And
He's
you can,
probably still,
yeah.
yeah. So
So
there we
you
go.
can hear the call going out.
I'm
And it was actually his idea to do the show today. I was actually going to not do anything and call it
Yeah.
off and just, dial it in, say hello, and let you know that I'm taking the week off. But since we're here now, let's do something interesting. What I'd like to do is, number one, invite anyone who wants to come in and join on the screen. And Lloyd, if you could do me a favor and paste the rendezvous URL. So that's number one. Number two, we were going to have Coldflake here, and obviously he knows a lot about No Limit Drones since he founded the company, and I've been doing a lot of stuff with them recently. So why don't we do a bit of a Q&A session about what it means to mod your drones, whether it be hardware mods, software mods, and anything else in between. So let me start and get the chat window up if I can. There we go. Pop out chat. So who have we got here? We've got Mike B, the Drone Ranger. We got Drone
Yep.
Shots, Trevor, Thunderbird 6,
Yep. Lynn. Yep.
Northside Hawk, Drone and Tech. Yeah, no audio. We fixed that one. Sorry about that. Zeb Meat.
Yeah.
I've got an itchy nose today.
Whether
That's annoying me.
here-
Yowie P51 and I'm sure a few others in between.
Yeah.
So
Here, FE. Yeah.
So let me start with the message. What does it mean to hack or modify your drone? What do you know about it, Grumps?
Just what I've heard you talking about. I know that you can go in there and you can change the limitations that are put on by, say, DJI, which is the drones that No Limit Drones deals with, and you can eliminate some of those those dams that they put in your way, some of those blocks.
Yeah. Okay. So let's yeah, there was a joke that we were talking about earlier, and let's not talk about that joke. That's not rated for my show.
Exactly. I knew you. I knew you'd get the reference, though.
I got it. I got it. Um, so so let's talk about it, right? If you're flying Old Faithful, the pillow, as Coldflake calls it, if you're flying one of those, what does it mean to use that as your aircraft when you're modding it and hacking it? What does it actually do? Um, so the kind of things people want to do most is they want to fly higher or they want to fly in a no-fly zone. Now, I'll say the things that I've said before. you want people to always fly safe and not fly stupid. But having
Right.
said that, there are good reasons to fly in a no-fly zone, and that is A, because the no-fly zone is wrong, or B, because you've got authorization. So you might have approval because you've got a license to fly in that area, and you've got approval. And sometimes the DJI unlock process is less than elegant. So those are some good
Right.
reasons. It just makes it a lot easier if you're a responsible flyer to not have to worry about that. So no-fly zone removal, how does it work? And again, this has annoyed me. I've got an itchy nose today. I've got a bit of an allergy. Anyway, no-fly zone removal. There's two ways it worked on the old Pillow on the Phantom 4 Pro series. The first one, it used to actually log into the bird and then run some commands and do some things on the aircraft to disable that. And essentially, if I simplify it, it replaced the no-fly zone database with an empty file. That's an easy way of explaining it. But some people don't like that so much because you're logging in and hacking into the drone. But instead, the other way you can do it is the more recent way is to use what's called a custom flight controller. So a flight
Okay.
controller, if you imagine the bird's got two brains, it's a bird brain, two brains, one being the kind of a Linux operating system where, you know, all of the stuff you can log into is if you actually want to do that. And then there's the second brain, which is the flight controller. The flight controller is more heavily protected. It doesn't run Linux. It runs what's known as a real-time operating system. Now, the people who hack and modify the drones and the birds worked out some time ago how to customize the flight controller. So in other words, Linux, flight controller, push a new flight controller in and change the settings so that the no-fly zones are turned off, so that the maximum altitude is turned off, those kind of things. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It does to me.
yeah. So that's the custom flight controller. That's totally doable and totally safe, but it doesn't work on the latest drones at the moment. It works particularly on the older aircraft.
Right.
What else? What else have we got? Then you've got the speed mods. This is another one that's very popular. People who just want to go fast.
Right. Right.
So in the different software that's available in NLD and other software, you can press a button and say, right, I want the boost mode. So it'll automatically load a template of tested settings to make it go fast. By the way, I've got to ask, Mike B, I know you've got a NoLimitDrones license, if I remember you won one before. And anyone else who's won a copy, let me know in the chat and tell me what you're thinking of it so far. But the speed mods, you can click a button, it'll load a template. Or if you're brave, there's another way you can do it as well. You've got some sliders that you can manually adjust different settings, maximum speeds, and even change the maximum tilt angle of your drone. So, I mean, Grumpy, I know you've got a maximum tilt angle of your rocking chair.
Yeah.
But on a drone, it's a little bit different. So if you can imagine, in fact, let me go get Old Faithful over here. So if it's sitting at that angle, it's going to, you know, hover. But when you start to change the angle, it's obviously going to give it some force in the direction that it's tilting.
Yeah.
You can increase the maximum tilt angle, but there becomes a position where if you went to that angle, obviously it would fall like a lead balloon. But so when you're changing the tilt angle, the message is do a small change, a little one only, and test it, and do a small change and test it, and do a small change and test it. And if you get into trouble, stop going forward, just hover again, and it will stay steady and safe.
And
Is
the
that
reason for the change the tilt angle is to get you uh faster reaction in your forward speed,
correct?
correct?
Correct.
Because that's the way a helicopter works too. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thunderbird, you said you now that you've got a P4 Pro, is it a V1 or a V2? Curious to know that. Anyway, so you can change the maximum tilt angle and that makes it go fast. There are two settings for faster speed. One is normal faster speed and the other one is speed boost faster speed. So if you imagine in your drone you've got normal and speed boost mode already in the drone on the controller, you change the setting. You can change the defaults for both of them. Mike B hasn't used the tilt angle adjustment either. What settings have you used, Michael? Just curious. So anyway, let's move on from that. That's the second thing you can do when you mod your bird. The third thing is getting a stable signal is something that's important. And certainly outside of America, you can't use FCC mode. Grumpy, what's FCC mode?
It's the Europe has a different right.
You know what? Your microphone, I know we spoke about your audio earlier. Can you turn it up a little bit? That'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I think you've got, like, it feels like you've got some echo cancellation in there, which is kind of making your voice go, yeah. But anyway.
Right. Oops. How's that?
No, we'll see. I'll tell you what, I'll turn something else off on my side just to see if that helps as well.
Right.
Rendezvous over here. Welcome to dynamic fine tuning. So hopefully that will help as well. Where was I? FCC mode.
Right.
How do you know what mode you're in? It's a really important question that a lot of people don't understand. Mike B mainly wants the no-fly zones. He's needed that. The farmers' fields and such can be a problem now and then. Yeah, okay. So again, let's get back to the question. FCC is the American signal strength. If you're not in America, you use CE mode, which is originally a standard that's based on European, but the rest of the world, the non-American rest of the world, has generally adopted that as their default as well. So if you're in America, you don't need this. If you're in America, where is my America? The Americans, bless their hearts, they don't need to be stronger than anyone else. They just know that they are, and they're going to put out the biggest signal they can.
That's right.
Even if it's going to stomp over everyone else. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Because we're Americans.
You are. So those are the two different signal levels. There's a third signal level in many of the DJI series drones, which is an undocumented one. If you can imagine, you've got...
That was South American mode.
South American mode? Yeah, okay, undocumented. Okay. So if you can imagine... there's a radio unit inside the bird. It's a software-defined radio, and the operating system talks to it. And it's got the capability to do a higher output than FCC or CE. But the software regulates it to a certain maximum power output. That's how it works. Now, can I ask you, Grumpy, tell a joke for about 20 seconds, because this itchy nose is driving me crazy, and I'm just going to...
You know, the problem is I sent all those joke books to Art, so I don't have any good jokes to tell. Well, I've got one, but we're not going to use that, even though somebody said go for it. We won't use it on your channel. Definitely inappropriate.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I've finished scratching myself. Moving right along. So, so FCC. So think of it this way. You got CE, FCC, boost going up in signal strength.
Right.
the standard disclaimer that I say to everyone, while these settings are available, just like flying in a no-fly zone is bad, you need to do whatever you need to do in your country to get the appropriate approvals to fly at a higher signal level. So you need to go and work that out yourself, but the capability is there. What does it do? Gives you longer range. And again, standard disclaimer, longer range doesn't mean you can go do things that are stupid. You've always got to fly safely and responsibly. So let's summarize. We've talked about FCC, speed boost, no-fly zone removal. Has everyone in the chat got any questions about those, first of all? And I'm looking at Thunderbird, who said, fly, crash, collect. Okay. So that's in reference to the tilt angle adjustment. You fly it, you crash it, you collect it, and then change the tilt angle. Try and start conservatively.
Yeah.
You know, that's why being a conservative is important. You don't crash so much.
That's it.
Okay, where are we? So there's one other setting, which is parameter editing. And that's where you can just change. There's literally thousands of parameters inside your drone. You can tweak them, customize them, mod them. And those are the kind of things you can do with that piece of software from NoLimitDrones.
Right.
Now, again, we were going to have a cooler guy here to talk about it, but he's asleep. I'll ring him again. But if anyone else wants to come in and chat, we've posted the link out there and you're more than welcome to join. Does DJI Care Refresh work if using no limit settings? What do you think?
From what I understand, it will, because you pull this, you take the NoLimitDrones off of your system before you send it in with all the little broken pieces.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I'll read some information from their.
What do you call a smart blonde?
Updated. What do you call a smart blonde?
A golden retriever. You don't know what a golden retriever is, do you? It's a dog. It's a golden retriever. It's a blonde dog.
Oh.
It's smart blonde.
Okay. That was bad.
Don't blame me. Trevor put it up there.
Yeah, Trevor, thanks for that. Let's move right along. Part of their documentation, will NLD void my DJI warranty? And it says, we are not consumer rights lawyers. We hack drones. We can tell you that no customers have reported that DJI has voided their warranty due to using our software. The DJI warranty covers manufacturing defects, which NLD would not cause. DJI Care is a little bit different. It's like an insurance policy covering all sorts of events, even if your bird crashes into a lake. There is no clause that has been seen in the DJI Care terms that prohibit modifications to your drone. And it's an interesting discussion. I mean, you would have, I'm sure, seen some of the right to repair discussions and debates happening in the US at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same kind of thing. Apple don't want you to necessarily modify or tweak or repair their phones, but people do it, and it's well-established right to do that. But the warranty still applies. But like they said, they're not consumer rights lawyers. You need to get your own advice if you're really worried about it.
Yeah.
Let me get back into the chat. Trevor, why are you trying to bring down a golden retriever for street cred? Oh. G'day, Doc. Good to see you. So I've just described all of the old stuff, and it uses, like I said, there's different types of vulnerabilities in the older birds that allow you to get a login shell and do all of these things. On the newer birds, it's not that easy.
Right.
Having said that, it's possible to get a shell. Again, I use as an example the Mini, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a method that's well documented and well published to get a shell on that bird. Once you get there, the next question is, how do you, on the newer birds, do the custom flight controller thing? And the bad news is that you can't. And the reason for that is DJI got smart and worked out what the hackers and modders and so forth were doing. So they've now got, if I simplified, a protected zone where the flight controller is, and the signature that verifies the stuff that goes in there is not known at the moment. There are people trying to work out what that is. And I'll just close that door, some people wandering around out there. There are some people trying to work out what that key is, and eventually it'll come out. But until then, you can't do the custom flight controller thing.
You know, I think this is brought up here a week or so ago, but do you ever see, actually, I think Doc Murdoch brought it up. Do you ever see a point where maybe instead of having to use the DJI controllers, you can use, say, uh, 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 the one that everybody uses for FPV, the Tyrannus,
Yeah.
you know, like
Um,
2X7. You
yeah.
see
Look,
that you'll ever be able to get the software set up where it can be tuned on beta flight and or do you think they'll ever do anything like that? Because I bet there's a bunch of FPVers that would just love to get in there and completely retune that drone to make it fly the way it should.
yeah. Look, I think there are people who want to make that happen. But here's the question for you. The work effort and the reward for doing that. What is the benefit? And Doc, if you want to, explain what would be the benefit to you for doing that. Is it worth the significant effort that will be required to do that, or why not just use the original controller?
Well, in my case, there's so many more channels available on. Of course, mine's I can't remember how many switches and how many channels. I think 16 channel or something like that. But there's just so many other finite things you can do with the controller that is not on a DJI controller. I mean, you've got the basics. Everything else is just strictly software driven instead of being able to flip a switch here and a flip a switch there to arm, disarm, do whatever you want. You've got the basics, and it's just like with some of these small FPV drones where you buy them, like Emax puts out, and you get this little bitty, basically a toy grade controller. Okay, that's good, but you can't do everything you want with it. So you go into beta flight and you set up a profile into your QX7 or your Tyrannus controller, whatever you've got, whichever type you've got, or one of the other
Mm.
brands out there, and you can do so much more finite tuning to it out of it. And I mean,
So if I could just say, right, so looking at my Phantom controller, we've got two jog wheels there either side. We've got a couple of switches and buttons, 1, 2,
right.
and 3 over there. That's on
Yeah,
this bird, but you're referencing, which bird are you talking
something
about?
like that. Well, like in my case, I got the Air. I've got the original Air, the Mavic Air,
Mm.
and and let's say the controller. You've got what have you got there? The Mini? Is that what that is?
That was for a Phantom 4. That was a Phantom 4
No,
controller.
the other bird you're working on right now. It's a Mini, right?
Yeah.
And what's the controller look like on it?
You know what? I haven't taken the controller out of the box yet. The bird's been
Well,
permanently hooked up to my computer via a USB
right,
port,
right, right,
but
right.
we've only got 1, 2 buttons there,
Yeah.
and yeah, it is a lot simpler.
And
And you got
when
a
you
couple
look
of
at,
top buttons, power, and I can't see what that is.
I mean, I've got more switches on my uh, uh, my mind's gone blank on it because I wasn't thinking about talking about this part. On the little the little minis, that Emax puts out.
Mm, yeah.
The ones you can. house. I've got more controls on it than I do on my original Mavic Air, just
Mm,
because I've got more switches, and I can broadcast. Of course, some of that has to do with broadcasting through the headsets and stuff, but
mm.
it's just uh let's see. Doc puts up take the
I'm
Mavic
just
2 Pro.
I'm just going to invite him in if he's available.
Yeah.
Um, so let me just extend on that, right? So you've got, oops, I didn't mean to press that. I was moving my phone somewhere. um, so at the end of the day, you've got two aspects. You've got buttons, okay? So
Right.
extra buttons. Then the other question is you've got other functions which are available in software.
Yeah.
The challenge that I would say is, right, so the custom flight controller thing that's been done for the Phantom 4 series and the Mini, those things take the existing flight controller and they mod it. They change a couple of parameters and put it back. If you were to actually write your own custom flight controller, you can do one
You
for
talk
each bird.
right. You're talking and the flight controller. You're talking about the piece of hardware that's inside the drone that
Yep.
controls
hmm
the CPU, so to speak.
There's two
Right.
CPUs inside the drone. Remember what I said before? So you've got the Linux type CPU and you've got the flight controller. They're two different, every
Yeah.
drone has two computers.
Yeah. Because even my 5-inch over here has that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So Doc's going to come in. It'd be interesting to have a chat to
yeah.
him. Um,
Just a side note before we get too far, because I'll probably forget by the end of it. Well, last week you had issues with your software system,
mhm.
and I've had an ongoing issue with my sound system, and I seem to have fixed the problem. So, and this is going to be a permanent fix. So I've started using, as we talked about, uh, I'm using software that is controlling everything. The only thing I use vMix for anymore is for the fancy graphics and to play stuff. So,
Mm.
anyways, just want you guys to know that hopefully on Monday's show it will sound better. You know. Anyways, that's just a side note. So
With
I'm
you,
actually impressed. I'm impressed I was able to do it. That's the thing. Because as much trouble as I've had, it took a
with
little research to figure it out.
with you, your show is always a surprise, and we're always tuned in to
Yeah,
see where it goes.
yeah. See what kind of Charlie Foxtrot it's going to be this week. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let me continue the story. If you've got the early series, the Phantom 4s, the original Mavic Pro, then you get to the Air, the Mini, the um, Mavic 2 series, etc. That's when it becomes a little bit different, and their flight controller is a lot more protected. So you can't do that. So it still relies for a lot of the hacks that are out there on the traditional login and do stuff, as opposed to the clean replacement of the flight controller. Now, Lloyd, you've got something you want to say?
No, no. I was just answering. Uh, uh, Lynn, oh, so you have something to say? No, never mind. It's important now.
You know what? While you say you've fixed your audio, it's weird. If I'm talking at the same time as you, or if you've got
Right?
audio coming into you at the same time,
That's where it's clipping,
that's
probably.
where it's clipping. It is. So we've got to have a look at that a little bit later. But
Yes.
yeah. But to answer your question, Trevor, no more bad audio from Lloyd. Every time he opens his mouth, it's bad audio. But that's another story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Doc here. Let's go and bring in the Doc.
There we go.
G'day, Doc. Let me put you on a screen. Change source. Oh, that was ugly. Let me try that again. Change source.
Are you saying Doc's ugly?
There
That's not
I
nice.
resemble that.
Yeah, exactly.
There we are.
we go. Hey, Doc, how you
Yeah.
doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
So
Hey,
what?
yeah, the whole point about what I was describing
Mm.
was that if we were able to have a flight controller that we could program
Mm.
to be able to switch between the way a Mavic Pro or any of the camera drones function to an FPV mode, where the camera would then tilt up to a predetermined angle for forward flight in FPV flight.
Can
and
I
it would
answer that?
lock,
Yeah, I got good news for you.
Horizon to the drone. And that way, when you're flying in FPV mode, it would fly just as if you were looking through a GoPro.
The goggles.
Yeah.
Or a GoPro.
I've got some good news for you, though, because that's theoretically already available. There was a parameter that I recall for the original Mavic series. I haven't used it myself. I don't have an original Mavic. But you can set the parameter and get it to lock the camera and basically make it a fixed camera and get that kind of FPV feeling. So that is available.
Well, you'd also have to be able to switch it to where it didn't limit the angle that the drone could tilt to. It literally has to be able to fly free, of the horizon mode, that the camera drones are, pre-programmed for.
Yeah. Just a quick interruption. I'm getting a message from Mike B. Your audio dock is really hot and I can't change it because they're all coming in through the one input. So try and do that.
I'm on my cell phone.
You're on a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that Lloyd is a little low.
Let me see.
That's all right. But to answer your question, so Greg, you need my wife and producer back. She's on holiday, so it's me at the moment. But so I do recall seeing a video of someone at DJI flying the original Mavic in a, I wouldn't call it a full FPV mode, but it was able to take away those limits. Now, I can't remember the details of that, but there may be a way to do it.
Yeah, see, because when you go into iNav has that capability of going into a position hold that acts just like a camera drone, where you can push it around. And the only thing that it doesn't do well is altitude hold. You actually have to manually find that sweet spot where it's holding altitude already. And then as long as you got it pretty close and don't bump it, it'll fly normal. You can fly it as if it's a camera drone, but then your camera is locked at that up tilt. You can't change it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'll see what I can do about getting an answer for that one for you, if it is supported and which drones it's supported on. I don't know the answer right now, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Let me ring Coldflake again. You never know your luck.
If we were able to get the current FPV flight controllers through the UARTs to be able to control the gimbals, because then if we can take, say, like a, what is it, the Osmo Action, or is it the Osmo Action, or the Osmo Pocket. If we're able to take the Osmo Pocket gimbal, the camera part, mount it, and then be able to control it through a regular flight controller, just through a UART, one or two UARTs, man, that'd be super.
Yeah. Just to share with you out of interest, the architecture. So if you can imagine inside the bird, you've got the you've got the Linux computer that we mentioned a few moments ago. You've got the flight controller, you've got the gimbal, the camera, all of these different accessories. They've got inside the aircraft a serial bus where they're all communicating with each other. And all of those messages, DJI use this protocol called DUML. And it's, I don't know officially if it stands for this, DJI Unified something language. But with that protocol, you've got a source where the packet's coming from. You've got a destination, who you're talking to. And you've got message type, sub-message, and then you've got a payload and you've got a CRC at the end. So that's the kind of stuff that's in there. If you know that DUML language, you can send anything to any piece of that bird.
Okay.
And the other thing you can do is within the bird, if you've got root access, you could, for example, have commands that go and do something. And I'm getting echo back, I think, from you, Grumps. I'm just going to mute you for a minute and see if it is you. and I think it is. So we've still got some grumpy audio problems, but you can have those duml commands, for example, do something during a boot up sequence. You could have them hypothetically continually firing a lock the gimbal at a certain angle, and even if something else in the bird is doing something else, it could override that. That's a bit messy perhaps, but one of the possibilities.
I wonder if it might work better to do it through the app.
Yeah, the challenge with the app is that on the APK version for Android, for example, the app is encrypted by DJI. And because it's encrypted, it's not so easy to modify. A long time ago, DJI made some mistakes and they had some versions of the app that were unencrypted, and the hacking community got a hold of those, and that's how they were able to do some of the things they do. But you know what? I've got a personal view. I would love DJI to put on the brakes and stop, rewind and say, what the are we doing? I haven't got a beep button, but just imagine I did. What the are we doing? Because they stuffed it up big time. Okay. If they want to lock down their flight controller, knock yourself out. But allow there to be a way to unlock, to do things that people need to do if there's a valid use case to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And, obviously NoLimitDrones are doing some of that unlock stuff themselves. Then take the next level. If you're going to let people do things, let them replace the app. Why doesn't DJI release their app open source? Because the secret sauce is not in the app that's running on the phone. It's the secret sauce is in the bird.
Right.
You have a look at all of this stuff with the US government and other parts of the world saying, hey, we don't trust DJI. We don't know if it's sending stuff back to China. What if DJI said, here's the source code, read it, compile it yourself, build it yourself, and then there's no question about it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, there's no reason not to be able to do that. Other than their DJI.
Yeah, they made a mistake. They took a wrong position, Grumpy.
I was going to say, other than the fact they're Chinese communists, I mean, that's the other part of that.
Yeah.
Because they are owned by they are 51% owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and you can't get around that part.
Yeah.
Because I know, like for me, I'm looking at that with iNav is on a bigger bird, for like an 8 or a 9-inch bird, to be able to mount a small gimbal and control it, even if I have to put a separate flight controller in that is geared strictly to run that gimbal, and just add an extra board onto the copter, and it boots up at the same time as the regular flight controller does. And then all that would have to be done is I'd have to have a way to send an information line to that flight controller to tell the gimbal when to lock and when not to lock. And then I could also tell it to start recording, not record, all those different things, and then still be able to control all of the camera functions from that second flight controller through the UARTs. Yeah. So that's just food for thought. And this is what I've been looking at and tinkering with, and I haven't had much time here in the last couple months to, to really fart with it much, but I'm going to be farting with it a lot here this next year.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, again, the whole concept of the serial bus that I mentioned before, the USB port on the drone. I haven't tried it, but I wonder if that USB port is accessible during flight. I know that obviously we can send duml commands in. What about making a USB connected duml gimbal? Does that make sense?
Well, like on the FPV flight controllers, the USB connector is only, as I understand it, is only accessible during the phase when you put it into DFU mode. When it's in DFU mode, the flight controller is not functioning as a flight controller. It's only in program mode. Yeah, so I'm not sure how DJI.
This is not the flight controller. This is the other Android Linux based. Yeah. Anyway, look, food for thought. It was nice having you to come in and join in and have a little quick discussion. Where are you at the moment?
I'm sitting out in front of the hardware store. I just had to pick up plywood and carriage bolts and nuts and all that to fix the deck on my trailer so I can get ready to move our house. So we're getting
Your house fits
close
on a
to
trailer?
Pardon?
Your house fits on a trailer?
No, it's I have a big 18-foot trailer that I'm going to load everything from the house we're in now onto the trailer and haul it about 60 miles south to the house that we bought.
You said you're moving your house, but okay, I was just having fun with you.
Well, they would be movable because both of them are trailers. I mean, and my Dodge is heavy duty enough. I could move both those trailers. So.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, we won't keep you. Go and have fun at the hardware store and doing what you're doing, and we'll continue here, see if there's any other discussions in the chat room.
No, you bet. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Okay. See you, Doc.
Now, if I can figure out how to log out, it would be good.
That's all right. I'll move it away. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, that was Doc Murdoch. It's good to have him come in. We'll click that button and press the now get out. There we go. Okay. Let's go back and have a look back at the chat. And in the heat of the summer on the asphalt, it's possum jerky Mike B. Okay, I don't know what that was about. Too much competition getting off the highway. We've got art in there. Lots of rain happening.
Yeah, we've been having outrageous rain all day today. I was coming down. Well, after was it after I was through talking to you or before? I was driving down the road coming back home, or I was leaving the bank up there's what it was before I talked to you. And some guy, I got on the outside lane I got on the inside lane because the way our streets are curved, the water runs down that outside lane. It's just the way the drainage system is set up here. And, it was coming up over all the cars, and I didn't want to, flood out my engine because it was pretty deep. So I got to the high point of the road. Well, somebody coming the other way, they hit a spot that was going across the road. And when they did, it just washed completely over my van. And I had to stop because I couldn't see. My windshield wipers couldn't keep up. It was just completely went over the top of my van.
Yeah. And it's pretty warm over here in comparison. No rain today, but what's the temperature in Sydney? Where's the weather at when you want it? It's 31 degrees over here, which in Legacy Gaelic, or whatever it is you guys use. Let me say 30 degrees in Fahrenheit. 86. So it's warmish day. Not crazy warm, but starting to get into summer. So that's nice. Let's go back to the chat room for a couple of minutes. Anyone got any questions about the hacking and cracking and all of that kind of stuff? And let me continue the story while we're waiting for those questions to come in. So the newer drones, you can get into the shells, you can apply some of the mods without doing the custom flight controller thing, but there's a new way to get a shell without using a vulnerability. It's actually, people have worked out the way that DJI do it, so that's pretty cool. It's not available on every drone yet, but I think that'll continue. And then the question is, how do you do the flight controller thing with how do you do the NFZ bypass without replacing the flight controller? Because it's now protected. And the answer is you pretend to be DJI again. There's people looking at and researching of how to send, how you get an unlock from DJI? What if you could pretend to be DJI and do an unlock? That'd be pretty cool. So that's what's been worked on.
Just so you know, our current temperature is 15 degrees Celsius right now here in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Okay, cool.
I made it just for you to understand. For the rest of the common sense world, that's 60 degrees.
Yeah, but I just still don't understand. The Americans have agreed to do the metric system. They just, it's in law. It's your metric country.
it's a matter of money. People would have to go out. There's just too many people have used it for so many years. It's like our speed limits. They have all the speed limit signs. And it's just each city is responsible for their own speed limit. But, that's just we're cheap.
Yeah, they can't afford.
But hey,
the land of the free and the home of the brave, and they can't change a speed sign.
Yep, that's it.
Mm.
And we like to be different. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
We enjoy our independence. That's the thing. In 1776, we declared our independence, and we're trying to keep it that way. We're not as independent as we used to be, but we're trying to, we don't celebrate we don't have a national holiday every time the Queen changes her knickers, like you guys do over there.
But you do keep the original system that came from the Queen, just to remember your colonial roots.
Yeah, well, we do enjoy our history, but
yeah. Okay,
it's the rest of the change, not us.
Yeah. Let me share one or two more other bits and pieces. We've spoken about the good old booster boards before as a way of doing stronger signal if you don't have an FCC mod available for your bird. So that's a really cool thing. The other cool thing, how many people in the viewing audience today have got a Mavic 2 series bird? I'd be curious to know that. And who's got a Mavic 3 as well? Has anyone splashed out and got rid of a kidney to go and get that yet?
I'm sorry, I just saw what Thunder. He asked, did I check with you to see if I could say I was independent? No, I didn't. But he's taking a nap at the moment, so I can get by with it.
Okay, cool. So there is something available for Mavic 2 owners, and we've got Mike B that's also got 2 Mavic 2s. The core boards, from what I gather, the last batch of core boards that's ever going to be available for those boards is coming through in the near future. So, DJI, I believe, is shutting down production of the Mavic 2 series. Now they got their Mavic 3s, obviously. So whatever's around, if you want to get a core board, why do you want to get a core board? Because then it's permanently rooted and you don't have to worry about these other certificates and unlocks and all of that kind of stuff. You can apply all sorts of mods and have all sorts of trickery on your bird. So I think there's 20 of them left, thereabouts. Anyway, look, we've blown through 50 minutes of time chatting about some of this.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any questions? Soon batteries will become rare for the Mavic 2 series. Well, this happens with all DJI drones, but you can still get batteries for the Phantom 4 series, but they cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the more I'm looking at FPV and everything you can do with FPV drones now, the more I see, you're going to spend the same amount of money and you can get, if you go all digital, I'm not talking about the DJI FPV drone, I'm talking about actual FPV. You can go digital with that system. You've got so much more control. You can build it yourself, or you can choose to have someone build it for you and pay them the money. And your selection of batteries is and the cost of batteries, is so much cheaper and so much better that, I mean, they're putting GPS systems in these things now. They've got, you can do everything on a good high-end FPV drone that you can do on any of the DJI stuff, and you've got more control of it yourself. And that's where I see a lot of people. Yeah, it's a lot less, not counting the digital video system. And
DJI is not even making that anymore. I think is it Cadix is making it now?
Yeah, I had heard something about that.
Yeah, I think Cadix makes it now,
Mm.
and because there again, DJI decided they didn't want to be shelling out, any of their resource. And actually, I don't know how long they've been making their own stuff, anyways. But there are alternatives to being able to do this, and uh, unfortunately, because DJI eventually they're either going to have to break loose with some of that software and allow people and
Okay, we've got the line of the day. Thunderbird. I've got a GPS in me. My wife always seems to find me. Yes. Can I just add to that? What's the difference between a wife and a satellite navigation? The satellite navigation's got a mute button. It still tells you where to go, but at least you can mute it.
Mute it, yeah.
That was a bad one.
Mike B says, No Limit Drones does not in any way promote illegal flight. They are just giving you back legal flight that DJI has taken away from you. And I think that's why people have gotten into the FPV, because, some of these companies have taken away, they're trying to be proactive in dealing with the FCC or the CASA or whatever Europe calls their, flight regulators over there. And, because they want to keep selling the stuff. But, now they've got this new 3 coming out. They're not going to be supporting the 2 anymore. And the 3 is, like you say, you got to sell a kidney or 2 just to, sell your kidney and your wife's kidneys and a couple of your kids' kidneys just to be able to pay for the damn thing. And it's a lot cheaper with the FPV, which is, I'm glad that No Limit Drones is kind of cracking it. And I think eventually somebody's going to have to come up with a mod for the batteries, We know somebody who did mods. We know of somebody who did mods for the 3DR drone. And, it's just going to take somebody like that. Somebody's going to have to reverse engineer those batteries and be able to replace them with, replace the cells in it.
Yeah. Just in response to the comments in the chat about NLD and flies you encourages you to fly legally, I'll just share with you again something from their documentation I was looking at the other day. And this kind of mirrors my own experience. So I got into hacking this equipment because when I got my Phantom 4 Pro, I was chatting to John and we were whinging about the fact that if you apply for an exemption, it would take 2 weeks for DJI to activate it. Right. Now, it's got better, granted, but I've also got an in principle reservation about a foreign power outside of this country controlling what you can and can't do. So that's how I got into it. But then again, just reading the message on the documentation from NLD, it says NLD was created as a response to DJI's heavy-handed nanny state as it applies to the locking down of their products. The NLD team are drone enthusiasts just like you. We want to enjoy using our quads and not be bothered by a company that thinks they know what is best for us. We paid good money for our products and we should be able to modify them freely and, of course, fly them responsibly. The pilot is the one who is in charge of all flights, and the pilot is the only one responsible for the safe operation of their drone, not DJI. And it goes on to say, in response to the creation of NLD, DJI continues to take steps in firmware updates to thwart the modding, which is why some features don't work on every drone. And there was something else. Where was it? Here we go. The other question that I saw in the doc that was cool, is it legal? You own your drone and what you do with it is up to you. You're responsible for every flight, not DJI. Always fly within the laws of your country. And that's all the nanny we have in us. Just don't be stupid with your flights.
Well, and that's it, and that's, a lot of the FPV flyers get a bad rap, or they did for a long time, including from me. as being outlaws because they just didn't want to. But the more I understand it, the more I've gotten involved with knowing what it is, I'm still not going to fly my FPV in the middle of an airport. It ain't going to happen. Nor would I fly my DJI drone in the middle of an airport. I wouldn't, or a fixed wing. It's my responsibility, not DJI's, but that's why so many people have turned to FPV and I'm glad that people like NoLimitDrone and basically what they're doing is the same thing though, as I brought up about beta flight and iNav and stuff like this, is the fact that, we control what our drone does. We have to go in there and say, all right, it has to do this, this, and this, and set up your switch. And you're basically with NoLimitDrones are doing the same thing, giving us back that control that DJI.
Am I missing a good comment?
Yeah, it's just, so if the FAA grabs you from something, can you tell them that DJI was the pilot? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You can't, and that's it. You can't blame it, because if you do something stupid, you do something stupid, and it comes down, it's your responsibility. But I do like the fact that I can go in there and tweak my bird, and either with NoLimitDrones or with only thing I know about right now is beta flight, and I don't know it very well. It took me 3 weeks to figure out how to get that little oh crap, that little E-Sheen whoop off the ground, figure out to even get it hooked up to my radio, and finally figured it out. But yeah.
So, yeah. Just a couple more interesting comments. Thunderbird has given a definition of CASA, cause a lot of shit aviation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Trevor is saying there's talk that there's an FPV Mini coming. I've heard that there is a smaller FPV bird coming. I've also heard of a Mini 3. The question is it one and the same thing? Is it a hybrid?
And that would probably be a good thing if they kept the price within reason. I think DJI, their price was ridiculous on their FPV drone for it to be, it's like these FPV drones are built like the old Tonka trucks from back when I was a kid, metal and everything. They're solid things, and the DJI FPV drone is basically built like a My Little Pony, something it breaks and you throw it away,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My opinion.
I had one more. Doc Murdoch saying the FAA's own regulations specifically state that the pilot in command is solely responsible for the safe operation of the aircraft being piloted. And that's the same in just about any country. The frustration is I don't know what the truth is about why DJI did their whole lockdown that they've done. Is it because the regulators told them to do it? Did they do it because they thought the regulators would be nicer to them and it was a preemptive move? I don't know that we'll ever find out. You think it was preemptive?
Yeah. I think it was preemptive. They saw something that was coming and they decided, well, they don't trust us because we're, the biggest company selling these things, and, we are, in China, and, we need to do something. So let's just get really heavy and don't let the pilots do anything, and they'll think, hey, we're taking their side on everything. I think that's what it comes down to. It's just that, and like you said, maybe they'll be nicer to us. Well, they might as well open it all up because that sure as hell didn't help them. Our government shut them down anyways.
Yeah,
well, I didn't shut them down. But,
So we get to the point of our show where we've done everything that we wanted to do. Not that it was anything structured today. We just had a bit of fun and had a bit of a gas bag. Today is the 18th of December, 1920, 21, 25. Guess what? It's Christmas Day next Saturday. I'm definitely not under any circumstances going to do a Christmas Day show because I've got a family like everyone else.
I wouldn't be able to be, because it'll be Christmas Eve for us, and that's when our family does our things. I wouldn't be here next week anyway. So next weekend, both off.
Yeah, but I'll just pick up the phone and do a quick g'day and see how people are doing, just for the sake of not breaking a week. I've tried to be good. Thunderbird wants to play. Thunderbird, I've got a recording of that one. Let me see if I can find it.
News reminds me of the show from 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's about how. Yeah,
Okay, enough of that.
that sounds like Bubba J, the Jeff Dunham. You know.
Yeah. G'day, Ben Cartwright. Good to see you. I'm going to finish with one last thought. I actually know two thoughts. Trevor is saying different release dates potentially. The rumors are for the Mini and the other. Oh, Drone Rob. You know what? Hang on. We need to get the puppet to drink.
Oh, he can drink. He's not able to drink, but
It'd be funny. T-Bird, Greg would have to have Ken Dono on to complete the group. I still don't know what happened to Ken. I've written back to him once and I didn't get a reply. I don't know. I've been ghosted.
he's ghosting you, Nate. He's ghosting you. You're a lightweight. Can't drink like he does. He's just ghosting you.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, buddy. Well, I had trouble with that.
Okay.
I got
That
my
show
tongue wrapped
was-
around my. See what I was saying.
That's what she said. That show was full of joy and spirit, and Greg was full of spirits. Yes, indeed. I want to
Yes.
go back. I had 2 points that I was going to do. One, that there was different release dates. So interesting comment there, Trev. I assume that's some rumor. And the last comment also from you, the problem is that 0.01% is the problem, and they're the ones who break the law. And it's the same with so many topics. Look, I'm not a gun advocate, but having said that, the problem comes from the ones who use them irresponsibly. I still, on that topic, believe I'm happier being in Australia because no one's got them and then there's no problem. But I don't want to get into that big debate.
Right. That's for another channel.
That's a different debate. But same topic, cars. Back before cars were on the road, people with their horse and carts and what have you are saying, oh, these cars, they're so dangerous. Look, we should get rid of them. And,
Well, like you said, there's always that 1%. I'm surprised cars have not been outlawed after that guy plowed into that Christmas parade, killing those hitting those kids and those grannies. Right there's a perfect example. That's what 1% is. One crazy person has to do something that ruins it for everybody. So next thing you know, we'll all be back in horse and buggies like the Amish.
Yeah. Anyway, what would I rather see, a Mini 3 or an Air 3? Whichever one comes first. But to be honest, just in terms of budget, I don't have money to have infinite supply of drone equipment. I've got my trusty Phantom 4 Pro, and it's only a V1. I wish I had a V2, but that's another story. I have not upgraded to a Mavic 2. And I will not upgrade to a Mavic 3.
Well, I think the problem is we have not had, back in the 90s, early 2000s, we had technology jumps that were just crazy, and our technology jump has slowed down, and I can't see buying anything new for a ridiculous amount of price that isn't that much better than what we're already using. I just don't see the point of it. I think there needs to be a huge jump in batteries. I think until they solve the battery problem.
But you know what, Grumps? They can solve the battery problem without changing the birds, right?
Right. Yeah.
So take that off the shelf. Put that off the shelf for a minute. In fact, the third-party company could probably solve the battery problem without DJI doing it.
But
The
We
reason
haven't.
the reason I'm sticking with Old Faithful over here is one simple reason.
It's got
The
a
camera.
manual or the camera. It's got the mechanical shutter.
Yeah, and we've spoken
And
about it so many times.
this,
When I was looking at
yeah,
the Mavic 3 and the rumors about it, that it was going to have a mechanical shutter, I had said, I will put money aside to go and buy that. But it didn't happen.
what is the trade-off of a mechanical shutter versus the shutters that are in them now? What is it? What does the mechanical shutter do
In
for those
terms of,
that
yeah, I'm not
buys
the
it?
absolute super expert, but I'll give you the example. When you're doing an orthomorphic stitch and you're stitching stuff together, right? So this is
Right.
more for photography versus video. If you're doing
It's
the
okay.
photos and you're stitching it together, there's some distortion because of where the shutter rolls and all of that kind of stuff in there. It's a rolling shutter. It's not
So
a,
it's like when you're doing topographical surveys and stuff like that. That's where you
yeah,
need the mechanical shutter as compared to a digital shutter.
correct. Correct.
That was it brought up in a discussion. I don't know where I was at or when I saw it, but they were discussing it, and I thought that's what it was, but I knew that you liked it, and I knew there had to be a specific reason why you preferred it, and it's because of the work you've done is
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
in
So the
yeah,
challenge is if your bird is moving, like if your bird is still and you're taking one photograph, you'll never notice it. But if your
right.
bird is physically moving and you're taking a shot, the mechanical shutter will give you crisp and non-distorted. There's a little bit of distortion with the electronic digital shutters.
Electronic digital. Okay, that's what I thought, and as far as just taking video, it really doesn't make a whit one way or the other, but it's when you're doing the topographic uh, or topography type
Yeah,
stuff that you need the clean edges to stitch all that together. So
yeah.
okay,
Um,
that is that's what I was curious about that. I'm sure
so
because it's brought up numerous times, and I just didn't understand. I couldn't remember, but I thought that's what it had to do, and I didn't want to, say
So what would cause me to get a new bird? Number one, Phantom 5 series. Simple as that. Or a Mavic 3 Plus that's got a mechanical shutter. Those are the two things that would allow me to go and get a new bird. A couple of other comments we've got from Thunderbird. I want to trade in my wife for a new one. Can't be any worse. Okay, we were talking about version number of drones. I can see that there's a parallel there somewhere. And we've got Mike, the drone ranger, saying the new models have a new nagging mode. Updated software enables a lot more problems. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Look, we've reached the end, or
Yep.
you win lotto. Yeah, if I win lotto, I'll go and get all of the drones, and then it won't matter. But you got
There
to
you go.
you got to enter it to win it, and unfortunately, I don't do that. I'm going to throw something else up on the screen, and right now it's in front of my face, and hopefully in a moment, it's. I should go and click this button over here. Hang on, let me do that. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
1450, the magic number for Ausbuy Drone. If you're not already a subscriber, it would be absolutely wonderful if you could press a button. And, I would love to see that little red line at the bottom go up a little bit today. That would be astronomical. Because we lost 4 subscribers over the last week. So we've got to get them back somewhere. Anyway, that was just my little comment about that. And that's all I've got time for. Do a thumbs up on the video. That'd be nice as well. That's all we've got time for. Grumpy, any last words from you?
No, because I'll be doing my show on Monday, which I'll be doing a giveaway. I'll be doing my annual giveaways for that and for Christmas. And because we won't be seeing, we'll probably see everybody here on my show Monday, but those that we don't see, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I'm sure I'll see you y'all before the new year. But drink and drive safe. I mean, drink safely and don't drive.
Drink and drive safely. Oh my goodness. Grumpy, it's been fun as always having you in the co-pilot seat. It was good having a chat about some of what's under the hood. I'm going to have to beat up Coldflake.
Yeah.
It was his idea. I wasn't going to do a show today.
You go. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show. That's all we got time for. Bye-bye for now.